Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Our VIP featured guest is a life balance coach, author, podcast host, licensed clinical social worker in private practice with over 25 years of experience in the mental health field. An authority in mindfulness and women's empowerment, she is on a mission. She is the author of 2 books, creator of online courses, and frequent TV and media guest contributor. Silhouettes, please help me welcome Shonda Moralis to the show. Hello, Shonda. How are you?
Hi, Amber. I'm so happy to be with you today.
So honored and tickled to be with you because I think you probably are the expert that we have needed, especially over the last couple of years.
Yes.
Probably.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, probably on a daily, but I tell you what,
It's been rough, especially for us women, for sure.
Yes. So again, welcome and thank you for taking some time to share your Silhouette of Success story with us.
My pleasure.
All right. I always enjoy kicking it off, especially for the audience that might not yet be familiar with you, to let you share and help illustrate the early shaping of your Silhouette of Success by talking a little bit about your background.
Sure. So like you said, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've had my own private practice for 20 years or so, maybe more. I'm not counting anymore. And I got into mindfulness and meditation through a yoga practice, which started over 20 years ago as well. And so what happened was I have 2 kids. I have a 20-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. And that's an interesting point. People like to know what that's like to have 2 kids 10 years apart, but that's maybe for another time. But when my daughter was 3, I took a class on mindfulness and I started practicing meditation on the daily. And really quickly started to notice all of these real benefits. I am a high achiever, recovering perfectionist. And when they told me to sit down and slow down, I was like, wait, hold on. I don't think so. I don't know if I want to do that or if I'm capable. So, but I tried, I see it as an experiment, which I invite everyone to do. And started to notice that by slowing down just a notch, I was actually more efficient, more productive, happier, more playful, all of these things. I was just my better self. I had more patience and tolerance for my daughter. So I was hooked and I continued to learn and teach and practice meditation and mindfulness. And fast forward to the time when my daughter is about to turn 10 and I'm pregnant with my son. And I know from experience now that there's no way I will be meditating for a half an hour every day when I have a newborn. So I wanted to keep mindfulness in my life in some very practical, flexible ways, and we juggle so many hats as women. So it's like, how do I do all of this and keep a little bit of this, keeping me grounded in my life? So I developed these 5-minute practices and started teaching them to other moms and women that I was working with. And they too were able to see how just with 5 minutes a day, we can really change the feel and the pace of our day. From one that feels really frantic and urgent to more calm and sustainable. And then what happens is we can sustain that energy longer. So we're not completely exhausted by the end of the day, and we can think more clearly. So there are so many evidence-based, science-backed benefits to mindfulness and meditation. And that's part of what I bring into my work and my books, most recently with how do we create life balance as these, busy moms and women who want to wear all of these hats.
Well, okay, so I have a page. I always have my notes here, and I have a page. It's interesting, so I'll go backwards for a second and touch on some of these things. That mythical life balance is it mythical? Is it real? So it's great that you touch on that. And wow, and the clear thinking and being more playful in your better self. So I think I'm raising my hand to maybe try out for that experiment that you went on.
Definitely. Yes. So I love talking about life balance because that's the thing, right? Is people will say there's no such thing. It's a bunch of BS. Give it up. And I'm like, no. Why would you want to give up life balance? I think it's all, to me, about our definition and our expectations. And so if we recognize that first of all, there's no kind of endpoint. You don't reach this perfect state of balance. And now you're like, oh, okay, I'm done. I got this. That's perfect. I can do this the rest of my life. I mean, of course not. That it's very imperfect. I see it as sort of a recalibration, an ongoing, gentle, kind recalibration that can be fun if we're looking at it in the right way. So of course our lives change. We have different phases. We're ever evolving, which is a great thing. So if we're constantly sort of just paying attention, it's feeling a little off now, or I'm craving a little something, or it's feeling a little dull, it's feeling a little overwhelming, that points us in the right direction if we're aware.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And that being aware, the awareness.
Yes.
And we'll dive more into that here in a little bit, but thinking about all that you do, let's back it up to the very early morning or whenever that is. It might be the afternoon, whatever. I'll let you share your story. But the alarm clock goes off and your workday begins, or your business day, or your day of productivity. What does that look like for you? Are you more of a structured individual? Do you have a routine? Are you more spontaneous? Where do you find yourself, and share a little bit of those tips and tricks with us?
Yeah, great question. And I say that has evolved for me as well. Like I said, I used to be a super perfectionistic, and I'm still a high achiever, but it's relaxed over the years, thankfully. So I definitely still like routines. But I used to be very like, oh, boom, I cannot miss this half an hour meditation. And like I said, I think when I added another child in my life and then started to see, it comes at a cost if we're too rigid, if we're too structured. So I think a kind of a loose structure is what works for me, and I kind of recommend for a lot of people. So the alarm clock goes off, and I have one of those really ancient kind of alarm clocks. I don't use my phone. It beeps at me, which is probably jarring, but I'm used to it. And before I even open my eyes, I think about what I'm grateful for. So just a few things. And I try to be a little bit creative and not just the same things over and over. So wanting to bring in something new and novel so it keeps our brain focused on the good. And then I get up, kind of go to the bathroom, do what I need to do with let the dog out. I often will grab my cup of coffee and sit outside on our patio. And I live in the Northeast in Pennsylvania. So you literally can find me out there in January with my parka on and my cup of coffee sitting there listening to the birds. My family thinks I'm a little crazy, but I love it. It wakes me up, and I meditate. And I do that for anywhere from 5 to, I'd say, 20 minutes in the morning. Does that deviate occasionally? Sure, depending on what's going on in our lives. But for the most part, that is really a grounding ritual for me. And, it helps us notice what's going on within ourselves, our thoughts, our body sensations, our emotions. It can help us set our intention for the day. It's just a really great practice.
That's fantastic. In sharing that, I could visualize you doing all of those things. In fact, you mentioned the age difference in your children, and I am right there with you.
Yeah.
26 and going on 15.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's funny because I had a conversation with him last night and the night before. Maybe conversation slash dialogue and maybe a little salesmanship on his side. But we talked about the alarm clock versus using old school alarm clock, a regular alarm clock,
Right.
versus having your cell phone in your room.
Yeah.
So it's so timely that you shared that. And I enjoy hearing that you're doing that.
Yes. So that was the 15-year-old, I'm assuming you had this dialogue
Correct.
with. Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The 26, I'm glad. Use whatever it takes to, keep going.
Yeah, exactly. You handle that. Yeah.
Stay on time. You've got this. Good for you.
Right.
Use all those tools.
Right.
So thinking on your career path as well, who do you think or could you tie back to that maybe influenced you the most as you maybe embarked on your career path, or who supported you in that?
Such a good question. I would say I've always been one drawn to whether it's like a formal mastermind that I have now with fellow female entrepreneurs, or somebody that I kind of bounce ideas off with. I have a good friend that we've been talking on a weekly basis. We just check in with our businesses. And that I find is super helpful on so many levels. They can keep us grounded when we're feeling lost. And what I also think is so helpful is that we high achieving women tend to forget all that we've accomplished, even just yesterday or last week. And when we are kind of following each other and supporting each other, it's like, hey, yeah, you might be having this kind of a day, or even just feeling like you're not sure where to go next, but look at all you did last month. And then somebody can be like, oh, that's right, I did do this, this, and this. I forgot about that. So I feel like that is really, really helpful and important. I've had teachers, mindfulness and meditation teachers, who've helped me and that I am still friends with, 20 years later, that have really been supportive. And also, I would say, along with being an author, there is, one or two people in my life who, because there would be people who would say initially before I wrote my first book, oh, well, I don't know, that's really hard. That's a lot. I mean, you need to have a bigger platform, or telling me kind of why I can't really. And I think it was very well meaning. But if I had listened, I wouldn't be here talking to you. So I kind of just tried to come back to, let me give this a try. Let me experiment. And I think life is a bunch of experiments. And I think it can be so much fun when we look at it that way. And that doesn't mean there aren't times where we're kind of, rocking in the corner, or, want to tear our hair out because we feel like we have no idea what we're doing. But that overall, it can be really fun.
It's marvelous that you say that the experiments of what, life is full of little experiments. It ties back, in my head, I was thinking it ties back to what you talked about, learning to be playful again. If you make it a fun challenge, I think sometimes we need those folks, softly putting it, naysayers,
Yes.
because we need to say, oh, really? Okay, all right. But you're right. If you don't believe enough in yourself sometimes to just kind of push through that, you don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not even sure. I mean, definitely it's great if we do believe in ourselves. And I highly, recommend that we work on that. But even if we don't, it's sort of just like this idea of why not try? And, not being afraid of failure. I call failure the other F word because I don't really like the word failure. Again, I feel like if we're looking at it as an experiment, there are some that are going to do well and some that are going to tank. But we learn every single time. And if we can have that growth mindset, then who knows what we could accomplish.
That is so fantastic. Oh, that is just great. So talking through that a little bit too, and this might complement this part of the conversation. How do you get unstuck when you need motivation or to break through that barrier that seems to be between you and maybe a goal or a dream of yours?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah. Well, first, can I just share one thing about that I think is so interesting? People may not be familiar with. Adam Grant he did a TED talk about this. He calls it the U-shaped curve. So anytime we are endeavoring on a new project, creative project, we are going to hit a U-shaped curve. And it's certainly been the case in my experience, which is this: we start out by saying like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like this. This is awesome. And then we start working on something and we're like, wait a minute, I don't know. And then we get to the bottom of that U and we're like, oh, this is crap. I'm crap. This is terrible. And that's where we can stop, because we think, oh, this is awful. Like, if you're writing a book, who cares? No one's going to want to read this. This is terrible. And I've been there with my books and other projects I've done. And if you keep going and expect that you're going to be there, and then you keep going, you start to get to this place where it's like you head up that other side of the curve and it's, wait a minute, this might be okay. Oh, I am okay. This is okay. And this is awesome. And you're back to there again. But so it's persistence, and that's what you're asking about. And I think sometimes it's just to expect that you're going to hit the bottom of the U-shaped curve and know it. It's coming. It's coming. And that's where, for me, having those women in my life who can be like, hey, I think you're in the U-shaped, the bottom of your U-shaped curve right now. Oh yeah, I forgot that was coming. Dang. All right. So it's just a matter of just keep going. Sometimes that looks like, setting a timer for myself, figuratively more than literally, just to say, just sit down and get started writing. Just start for 10 minutes. Because that's the hardest time, is to get started, for me and for most of the writers I talk to. So if you can just get started and just push through those first 10 minutes, then you start flowing and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I can keep going now. So that's how I keep going.
That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. We will definitely at the end ask you for resources. But in addition, I always like to maybe prompt our silhouettes for some fun mentors or different things that encourage them. So we'll make sure and include his link into the resource section. So thank you.
Yes.
In talking through a little bit too about what you mentioned earlier, the life balance and different things, because social media and marketing and all these things we have such access to. And as women, and I'll just speak for me, we see all of these amazing accomplishments and achievements. And then you sit back and think, and I know we don't see the behind the scenes because we all go through it and how we get there, right? After we come out of our U.
Yes, yes.
But talking through that, sometimes we'll ask ourselves, like, how does she do it? And we've heard a little bit about your structure, your routine. Okay, Shonda, how do we do it? How do you, the mom, the what, how do you get it all done? Or do you prioritize? Talk to us a little bit about that. Take the myth out of that for us.
Yeah. So great question again. And I think it comes back to, so my book is structured in this way where there are 3 types of what I call mindful breaks. So those are those pauses and reminders that take just 5 minutes or less in the middle of our day. And so I think the best 1-2 punch, the best combo, most powerful combo, is to meditate for 5 minutes in the morning. And then at the end, and I have this guided meditation on my website, by the way, if somebody wants to sign up and have my voice guiding you through this. At the end, it's this question of, okay, what am I craving right now today? What am I needing? Sometimes we need a little bit of calm and awareness, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed and I just need some rest or calm. Sometimes we need a little bit of like a shot of confidence or like some mindset work. Sometimes we need just kind of that overall balance, getting it back into balance. So it's the awareness piece. What's here? What am I noticing? What is needed? And that's one. And then what is one small action step I can take toward that? So that's where I have 50 mindful breaks in the book that you can choose from these different categories, depending on what's needed in that moment, in that phase of your life. And so to me, it's about, one way to really look at this is that it's an upward spiral of growth. And there are times where we have to slam on the brakes in our lives. Maybe we're in a caretaking mode or something's happening that it's just like we have to really lower our expectations and say, I am going to really just prioritize the absolute top priorities right now. And then there are times in our lives where it's like, hey, I'm ready to kind of take on a little bit more. We can press on the gas pedal. Sometimes life pulls the emergency brake on us, so we just are screeching to a halt. So I think it's encouraging ourselves. It's little tiny action steps that are intentional, that are deliberate, heading us in this direction we want to head. So of course we need to know, where am I headed, right? Like, what does that look like? So, that's one of these mindful breaks, these practices, is kind of like, what does that look like? What does my best possible future look like? What am I working towards? And then what is one tiny action step I can take right now towards that? So this combination of intentional action and also knowing when to lower our expectations of ourselves and just rest, because sometimes for us high achievers, it's hard to do that. It's hard to give ourselves permission to just do nothing and rest.
Yes, agree with you on that. Would you say, or educate us, the differences between mindfulness, meditation, and mindful breaks?
Sure.
Is there a difference in those three?
Yeah, they're often confused. So mindfulness is paying attention to what's happening in the moment with an attitude of kindness. So as best we can, we're not judging. Of course, we always judge to some degree, but to notice and be kind to ourselves. And so the opposite of mindfulness is when we're running on automatic pilot. And if we're not really paying attention, if we're not really there, we're in our minds in the future, we're worrying, we're what-ifing, we're running through our to-do list, or we're in the past kind of remembering or rehashing a conversation, let's say. So mindfulness brings us back into the moment. And that is where we have power, we have choice of, what do I want to do now? I'm noticing, I'm here. Okay, so I notice and can savor more of life's beautiful moments. And I also have choice in how I respond in situations rather than just reacting habitually. So that's mindfulness. Meditation is when we're going to actually carve out time in our day to practice this skill of mindfulness. And so I can go sit and close my eyes and notice my breath for 5 minutes. And what I will also notice is my mind will wander off very soon, many times. And the biggest myth I encounter is that people will say, oh, I've tried to meditate. I can't clear my mind. My mind's too busy. I have too many thoughts. Well, it's not about clearing our mind of thoughts. It's about noticing and making ourselves aware of all of our thoughts, because that's, again, where the power is. So meditation is a practice, much like if I'm going to build up my bicep, I'm going to go do some repeated bicep curls to build that muscle. It's the same with meditation. I'm repeatedly returning my attention to a point of focus, and that builds this mindfulness muscle of attention. And mindful breaks are simple ways that I can just come back into the moment while I'm driving my car, while I'm folding the laundry, right before while I'm waiting in line at the grocery store. I don't have to go and find a quiet spot to practice meditation, but it brings us back out of autopilot and back into the moment. When we do that, when we sprinkle our day with those kind of mindful breaks, we start to notice the pace, like I said before, starts to slow down a little bit. I'm more aware of my life. So it's really powerful, and it's a practice.
Okay, so again, I'm immersed here. I'm taking notes. It's like I love how you share that. Where we at one phase we have the power and the choice, and then meditation is the practicing, and yeah. Thank you for that. Oh, wow.
Well, what I don't want is for anybody to be overwhelmed with this idea, because meditation, it's not easy, but it's very simple. I can sit outside, like I mentioned, I can sit outside in my back patio for 5 minutes and meditate on sounds. Every time my mind wanders off to what I need to do that day, I come back to just listening to the birds, just hearing the wind rustle in the leaves. Or I can come back to my breath as that point of focus. So it doesn't need to be, we don't need to make it big and difficult, and it's quite simple. But But it is helpful if you're learning in the beginning to have a voice guiding you. So whether you use an app or a guided meditation. But again, I come back to experiment, have fun with it. That's one thing I see with us perfectionists, recovering perfectionists, is our type A's. We're like, well, if this is good for me, I should probably do this for an hour every morning. And then nobody does it because they don't have time. They see like, oh, that's too intimidating. So it's have this sense of amusement. Can we take ourselves not so seriously? Like, wow, there I go again, drifting off to my to-do list. That was number 50 in this 5 minutes. And that's fine.
It takes a lot, again, I can only speak for me, but in my observations, sometimes it takes a lot for us to unlearn some behaviors. And I think that only recently I've been able to do that, and just morsels of what you said. So I can't wait to dive into your book and check out your website and, the guided, where you're doing that, all of those things. I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get to that now today.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yes. But just to have the whimsy back and more playful in life, and just to kind of realize it's okay.
Oh, please. It's more than okay. It is life. It is necessary. And we deserve it. And we women are so good at taking care of others. And, kind of we fall way down on our lists. It's sort of like, I'll get to myself when I everything else is taken care of. And then before you know it, the day's over and, oh yeah, I forgot about myself. So really, these are really simple ways where we can celebrate life and be more playful, and all of these, have fun.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm excited. You're pumping me up. Talk to us a little bit more in depth about your upcoming book and maybe the inspiration or motivation behind that. Share with us.
Sure. So my first book is Breathe, Mama, Breathe, 5-minute mindfulness for busy moms. And like I mentioned, that came about with the birth of my son, and trying to juggle all those balls as a mom with little ones. And then, after my son went to preschool and elementary, I was kind of like, I have a little bit more time here. Like, what is it? And I started to work more with women who working on empowerment and confidence and kind of like playing big. And that really fuels me. And so what I also see, though, of course, with women who want to play big is that we are often on the precipice of burnout because we are such high achievers. And so that's where the life balance comes in. It's kind of like, how do we give all of our best selves and our gifts to the world? Because we all have all of this amazing stuff, but we have to be calm-ish first. We have to be a little bit of grounded, because otherwise we're just sort of putting out fires. We're not our best selves. And again, best selves doesn't mean like this idea of perfection, but just kind of like, how do we live in a way that feels relatively balanced a lot of the time, so that we are showing up in our lives in the ways we really want to. So in the second book, Don't Forget to Breathe, like I mentioned, there are 50 different mindful breaks to choose from. And I talk also about meditation and the powerful combination of the two.
Excellent. Excellent. And again, audience, we will share those links in the resource section. So it's going to be so simple for you to get your copies. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Our time is flying by. And so I definitely always want to respect your schedules, even though I'm just hungry for more and more with you. So I'll have to sign up on that website as soon as we hang up here. Thinking about sharing, like we shared earlier, with Adam Grant's TED Talk. We all crave great resources and different ways to help continue to grow and improve and expand our minds. So in addition to your books, do you have maybe some favorites that you'd like to share with the audience?
Some favorite books and resources?
Yes. Anything you can think of that you'd want to share our way?
Oh, sure. So some of the books that influenced me are Playing Big. I use that term by Tara Sophia Moore, and that's a great one. John Kabat-Zinn has written a lot of books on mindfulness. Brene Brown, of course, that I'm sure most of us are familiar with. I'm kind of drawing a blank. I can come up with some other ones to throw in the resources there too, because yes, I definitely love listening to podcasts and reading books. And I think sometimes I read so much that it's not coming to me right now.
Yeah. No, that's good. Well, you just shared, you shared a whole, mini library here for us. So we'll take it. We'll take it. All right, my lady, it has been just stimulating. I'm so pumped after visiting with you today. And again, the time has just flown. But keeping with a promise to share intentional inspiration with our audience, do you have a favorite key go-to piece of advice that you'd like to share?
I would say awareness. So being aware, if nothing else, pause and put your hands to your heart, to your chest area. This releases a little bit of oxytocin. It reminds us to be kind to ourselves, and take 3 deep breaths, inhales and exhales. If you do that a couple of times a day, you will pause. You will come back to yourself, and you will also counteract this sort of stress cycle that we tend to live in. So just that stopping, pausing, and being kind to ourselves, and giving ourselves permission to do what it is we really want to do for ourselves.
Perfect. It's perfect. What a perfect way. It's also an exercise in addition to the inspiration. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Where can our audience go to connect with you and maybe follow you on your socials and support you in your continued success?
Yeah, definitely. ShondaMoralis.net, and that's ShondaMoralis.net. And I'm also running a 7-day mini meditation challenge for life balance starting in September. So if anybody is listening at that time, head to my website. You can sign up for that. And every day you can follow along on Instagram and Facebook, where we'll be meditating 5 minutes a day, and do it on your own time, and reporting back and kind of sharing our wins, and then choosing a mindful break that fits us for that day. So my intention is to help women establish a daily habit of meditation and mindfulness practice.
Well, that's a gift. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for telling us about that. Yes. So we'll definitely make sure that we've got all of that exposure, because that's only going to help improve lives of everyone listening. So thank you. Thank you. All right, Shonda, it has been a genuine, sincere pleasure visiting with you today. Thank you for sharing your time and your silhouette of success with us. You have been a delight and just totally inspirational for me. Guilty pleasure. So thank you once again.
Well, thanks, Amber. It was wonderful to talk with you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out, and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberweitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine, and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberweitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.